A woman is dead and 5 others injured after a man opened fire on a Greyhound bus. The bus left Los Angeles for the Bay Area at around 11:45 p.m. local time, and the shooting occurred an hour and a half into the journey.
Now, police say somehow the driver convinced the suspect to exit the bus and leave the gun behind. Officers later found him on the side of the road. The suspected gunman is now in custody, and a motive for the shooting is not yet known.
An Air Canada flight bound for Toronto had to make an emergency landing. Pilots were forced to turn back to Madrid when the plane suffered an engine issue shortly after takeoff. It was a nervous ride for passengers. They spent more than 4 hours in their seats as the plane circled the skies to lighten the load. And as Redmond Shannon reports, the Spanish military had to get involved.
This is the perfect landing that brought to an end an anxious afternoon for the 136 people on board Air Canada flight 837. Just after takeoff, a loud bang was heard on board, and one passenger filmed this flame out from the left-hand engine. Air Canada says a tyre on one of the aircraft's 10 wheels burst after takeoff. The same passenger tweeted that this was the cause of the engine issue.
Now, the daily number of deaths reported in China is getting bigger and bigger. With those announced earlier this morning, the total is now more than 420. Also, a person in Hong Kong has died from the virus, only the second death outside of the Chinese mainland.
The new coronavirus has killed at least 425 people and infected over 20,400 in China as of early Tuesday. According to China's National Health Commission, that's an additional 64 deaths and more than 3,200 infections compared to the previous day, the biggest daily increase since the virus was first detected. It's been 2 months since the first case was confirmed in central China last December, despite the Chinese government declaring war against the outbreak and pouring major resources into trying to contain the situation.
Empty streets, empty shops, and empty restaurants. This is Manila's Chinatown, bustling on almost any day of the year. But recent days have been anything but normal. Fear has gripped the city's Chinese community as the coronavirus outbreak continues to spread. The community itself has now become a target of discrimination. On Facebook, photos of Chinese businessmen distributing face masks were met with offensive comments. This one reads, "You can keep those face masks. Go home to China." One university was criticized for a memo requiring isolation for all its Chinese students, regardless of travel history. A number of Chinese schools, however, took it a step further by suspending classes altogether for 2 weeks.
Humphrey William Washiala consoles his injured son at a hospital in Kenya's Kakamega region. He says his son is lucky to be alive after being caught in a stampede at his school. But other parents are mourning. They're asking how such an incident could have happened. Police say they've started an inquiry into what caused the stampede on the staircase at the end of the school day. Some of the parents say teachers are to blame. One accuses teachers of beating students who then try to escape, causing the crush. The exact cause is still unclear, leaving the parents of the dead with no answers.
The Trump administration is expanding its travel ban now to 6 additional countries. All immigrants from Myanmar, Eritrea, Kyrgyzstan, and Nigeria will be banned, and green card lotteries will be restricted from Sudan and Tanzania.
As you see here, most of the new countries are in Africa. The move comes after President Trump's original ban on several countries. Most are largely Muslim. Nigerians are taking the new ban especially hard, given what they thought, which is that they were close and had close ties with the United States.
They are curious about why this happened.
Certainly, Desiree, the warrant of arrest being issued by Judge Daya Pillay for the fact that the former president did not appear in court today. You would have heard there that there was argument between the state and his defense lawyer, Daniel Manja, trying to explain the medical certificate that they'd handed to the court. But Judge Pillay not satisfied, going through detail of the letter from an abbreviation that was written HPC, which she asked Mr. Manja to explain, which he could not, right down to an apparent changes on the dates that were on the letter, and of course also her unhappy with the signature on the letter.
Four children have tragically been killed and one is in hospital in a critical condition after a crash in Sydney's west. The driver has been arrested at the scene after allegedly returning a positive breath test.
A Saturday night turned to tragedy in Sydney's northwest. 4 children riding their push bikes along Bettington Road in Oatlands struck and killed by a 4-wheel drive. Another child suffered critical injuries and was treated by paramedics at the scene. All are believed to be under the age of 12. The tragedy unfolded outside the Oatlands Golf Club just before 8 o'clock. Emergency vehicles blocking the road, diverting traffic away from the fatal crash as distressed witnesses lined the streets comforting each other. The driver of the vehicle tested positive to a breath test at the scene. He was in tears as authorities led him away.
Daniel Torojich Arap Moi was sworn into office in 1978 following the death of Kenya's first president, Jomo Kenyatta. Nicknamed Inyayo, which means footsteps in Swahili, he pledged to continue Kenya on the pro-Western path on which his predecessor had embarked. Moi's appointment was initially welcomed, with his promises to battle tribalism, end corruption, and improve the economy. However, the president surrounded himself with members of his ethnic Kalenjin tribe, tightening his hold on power. He cracked down on opposition parties, and opponents within the military wanted him gone.